Welcome to Connected Conversations. I am Elena Petrova, founder and CEO of Adastra Inc. Tune in as we share inspiring stories, connect with local heroes, and discover solutions that uplift us. Welcome to Connected Conversations with Elena Petrova, founder and CEO of Adastra Inc. And thank you for joining us today. Very special episode. We are next door, around the corner to March 8th. And I invited Alessia Martullo to join us, where we are going to be talking about bringing positive impact to our communities through wellness. In our episodes, we usually talk to leaders who bring positive change to our communities through their work. And again, the change starts with our homes, our families. It's easy to say that we expect change from our politicians, presidents, celebrities. In reality, though, if you want to be a change you want to be. If you don't like something around, start with yourself. Look around. So often, the heroes, the leaders that you're looking for might be living next to you. They might be your neighbor. They might be your friend. They might be your sister, brother, or significant other. And today I have Alessia. She happened to be my friend for 7, almost 8 years. And she has been doing an incredible job. She works with multiple level of communities. Today, I want to talk particularly the change that she brings to women, because again, this episode is going to be released around March 8th. And there is one thing that she does every single year, and I've been honored to be a part of it. She puts together women around her local community for incredible dinner in an Italian restaurant where we all sit down and we talk about problems, we celebrate our achievements, we talk about our health, our aspirations, and she's the one who does it all for us. So again, welcome Alessia to Connected Conversations.
Thank you.
And please tell us your story, but there is one thing I'm going to start asking you, because this is what I do with every single guest. What languages do you speak?
Italian is my first language. I was born in Italy. English, of course, Spanish, and I'm starting to practice my Portuguese because I booked a trip to Portugal and Madeira. So trying to head a fourth one.
It's incredible, and you love traveling, right?
I love traveling.
I know there are a few things that I know about you. I mean, in general, so you're always so much fun, full of energy. You dance, you cook, you eat, you travel, you have kids, you exercise, you don't drink alcohol.
Never did.
Never did, and yet you have so much fun. And you build communities around you. You invite people to your home. You find restaurants where you invite people. Again, I swear to God, you changed my life in so many ways. I hated to exercise, and now I do it by myself with the programs that you created. And my life is very stressful. I am a mom. I run business, and all the tips that you gave me through the years, I'm still using those.
Okay.
And so again, tell us your story. You were born in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
You came to DC. What is the journey?
So I came to DC in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I arrived here with my, at the time, husband, whom I met when I was 18 years old. And so he eventually was stationed here. So he's also not from this area. So obviously when I arrived, it was a huge cultural shock because, Italy, as you know, is such a tight-knit community where even if you don't know someone, you are always welcomed. the experience I had when I arrived here was not exactly the same. And I was actually living in on Andrews Air Force Base, and so it was kind of out of out of the way. And I was like, wow, this is not going to work. I feel like I'm isolated, which I was. And so then we started to move closer to a more more center, more in the city. So then after the my second child, Victoria, who I breastfed for 2 years, I was like, okay, this life of just being home without being able to, walk or do the stuff that I would do at home, it was just getting too tight. And that's when I started focusing a little bit more on myself and my body. So finding my way again and my strength again. And I recognized that my mom always praised me for my strength ever since I was a teenager. I don't know. I was the second daughter, but I don't know why. I was just strong. And she would ask for my help move the furniture. I don't know. I guess she wanted a boy, but she got me. So I guess I just walked the line of. I mean, I'm very feminine, but I just love lifting heavy things. So I still do. And then it became such a outlet for me that with the change I made within myself, I was then inspiring others to do the same. So other women started to ask me to train them. And I was like, well, but I'm not a trainer. So I was like, wait, how do you become a trainer? So I studied reading and I applied for my certification. So I got my first certification and then I started working at Equinox. And I'm always forever grateful for the mindset that I have, was able to develop and the work ethic that you kind of have to have when you work at that level. Because I bring that with me, like, throughout my business now. So working with different women, different social extractions, from the housewife to the CEO to the lawyer to the doctor, I realized that the things that make us similar are way more than the things that make us different. And a lot of people don't realize that. We think we're so different because, I'm from Italy.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that question because you work with such a broad spectrum of different people, and particularly women. Have you noticed if there is anything, any common challenges that we go through?
I think what really makes us similar is we all want to do well. We all feel like the expectations of what it means to be a woman is just set so high, right? And sometimes you have to choose if you're going to be a great mom or you're going to be a great lawyer or you're going to be a doctor. Sometimes it's hard to put all those things together. And then, but you also have to look good. Oh, but you also have to be strong. Oh, but you also have to be feminine. I'm like, how can you put it all together? So since humbly I feel that I do a good job at being a good mom and work 35, sometimes more hours a week, and made time for my friends and still cook, and still at the time when I had a partner, made time for him. All I did was I always tried to guide and say, hey, this is how I do it. And my success with my clients is because I am very personable. And I would never expect them to do everything, but at least start with one little thing that you can control. And that helps tremendously. And as you said, you bring now, even after 7 years, 8 years, those little habits that you have built. It's really simple. It's not really complicated. And that's why it works. The basics. I always say it's the basics. Like, my program is never cartwheels or complicated things. No, it's just squats, like a great form, like just do it well.
But I really always enjoyed working with you because you don't just, you know, you always go back to the science, number one, because when I met you, you spent, I think, like weeks with me, first learning about my body, and then also adjusting every single exercise to my body because apparently I didn't know how to squat. And then you kind of like, okay, well, your spine doesn't go that direction. You line me the proper way, and it was in the beginning so annoying. But then once you learn how to do it,
Yeah.
and then it just stays with you for years after
Forever.
that.
Yeah.
So all the certifications that you did, and I mean, you're also nutritionist, right?
Yeah, nutrition coach.
And then also I know that you did the what was the one that you and
Animal
I
flow.
what is that?
Animal
Animal
flow.
floor. Yeah, animal floor. And then one day I said, oh, I want to do boxing. And then a few weeks later, you talked to me and you kind of worked on something. And
Yeah.
then I think that a few months later, we started doing boxing.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, you keep going and you keep improving yourself.
Yeah.
And so, which means that your trainings are so personal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like the point of personal training has to be very personalized, right? So just because I like to lift heavy doesn't mean that my clients like to lift heavy, right? So I love the biomechanics, and all I ask of my clients is like, look, it just has to look a certain way. It just has to feel a certain way. You have to be able to breathe through your movement. If you're not breathing through it, you're not owning it. If you can't breathe through a squat, you're not really squatting. You're just moving up and down. But exercise is more than that. It's really to connect. Actually, a lot of people don't know that the word yoga means to connect. Now we just do exercise as a punishment because we don't like the way we look. But I'm like, wait, exercise is actually the greatest celebration of what your body can do. So for me, it's like, okay, if you like to, kind of let out your anger, you want to box, okay, let's box. So I went and did my boxing certification. If you like to be more on the floor and you want to just move without any weights, great. Let's do that. So I have my animal flow certification. And then I continued to train because even though I do like to lift heavy, I realize it's not always the best thing that you can do in any given time, right? As women, we go through our period, right? We go through our cycles, right? Like on a monthly basis. So it's been proven with the research that our strength goes down 30% when we are approaching our cycle, right? So I deload myself, deload my clients. I kind of learned their cycle because then we all kind of end up having it at the same time. And so therefore, the cycle, the periodization with my female clients kind of goes in line with our life. Like if you're coming and you've had a stressful week, yeah, we may not do something that's going to stress you even more. Maybe we'll focus on something that's going to take your focus away, like learning animal flow, versus just doing something that's just straight from point A to point B, right? So then after all those certs, now I've evolved. I kind of shifted a little bit and have gotten, I think, 2 or 3 more certifications specific to recovery. So fascia stretching, SRT, PNF stretching. So now my business has taken a turn to where sometimes we just stretch.
So basically you're saying that if you're going to start exercising, do not take it as a punishment to your body just so you want to look great and let's go and start, putting pressure and just push yourself, because then it's probably not going to last.
It's not.
It's just like if you're going to start dieting to lose weight, you're going to lose weight, then you're going to bring it back because it's not sustainable.
Exactly.
So if you want, basically the way that your approach is get yourself into the movement, like get moving, and have fun with this.
Yes.
And one day it might be boxing, another day it might be stretching, another day what can you explain what the approach is to make sure that it's sustainable and you go because the way that I look at it is to make it sustainable through life, it has to become a part of you.
Right.
How do you do it?
Um, well, the way you do that is by prioritizing it, just like just like everything else. So even setting aside a specific time of the day, ideally, um, to exercise, right? To move. If you have a trainer, obviously they can help you with the guidance, with the accountability, with the motivation. And if you don't have a trainer, find something that resonates with you. I mean, you could even be dancing. It's not my expertise, but anything that takes your focus away from everything else that is stressing you. So yesterday I kind of came up with this quote, in all the things, find your breath. Most times we're not breathing. We're just kind of going through one thing and then the next. So find the time to make the time. You're not going to find the time. You have to make the time to put it in your calendar and say, okay, this is my workout. This is my exercise. And in terms of like the specific of the movements, I keep always going back to the squat, the squat, the squat. So there are 7 functional patterns that we call, that the human body, is the way the human body moves. So you have your squat, your deadlift, your push, your pull, your carry, obviously vertical and horizontal, right? So if you can, this may seem like, okay, I'm speaking a whole nother language. It's way more simple than it is, right? We all have to push something, pull something, push it above your head or pull it from the ground, squat or bend over or carry. So as long as you can kind of work in these patterns, then there you are, you're exercising, single leg, single arms, just the way the body moves, find some resistance or not. I mean, to me, it's simple because I do it so much. And so it's like, I don't know, I just
To keep it
just
going,
think.
so some of us think that, oh, it has to be 1 hour sweat. I don't know, like get yourself, push yourself. Does it really have to be this way? Can you just do like 20, 30 minutes per day, 40 minutes per day? And maybe 1 day or 2 days a week, it could be really hardcore, 1 hour, hour and a half, but other days you can just do 20, 30 minutes and just keep it as simple as that. Better than nothing.
Yes and no. So the thing is this, exercise science is a science, and if you're trying to create some adaptations, then ideally you want to follow a plan. Our body works in such a way that you do have to push a little bit if you want to stimulate your muscles to grow. Then there is a specific way you do that. If you're just trying to move or lose weight, again, those are 2 separate things. If I want to lose weight, I will modify my diet. It's 80% of my body composition is my nutrition. Our body, the most of our calories actually burned just to maintain our body temperature. So even the most strenuous workout to where you're burning 700 to 800 calories, you cannot sustainably do that every day. So if you're trying to lose weight, I would just go with your nutrition. And if you're trying to keep the weight off, just eat the right things. Eat the right things for you. And once again, those are very basic things. Eat your protein, prioritize that. Eat your greens, prioritize that, some healthy fats. And obviously, greens, vegetables, those are carbs. So when people say, I don't eat carbs, I'm like, what do you mean? You don't eat vegetables?
So you were always pushing me to eat carbs.
Yes,
I remember
carbs
that.
is, I'm not going to tap into keto.
Okay, give me the idea. What are the healthy carbs? Because I know us women, we always avoid carbs.
I don't know why I love carbs and carbs love me. I don't know. So healthy carbs, again, like non-starchy carbs is all the vegetables, kale, spinach, and then you think starchy obviously are the things like potatoes and rice so it's easy. Once you think starch and non-starch, then there you have
Give me
it.
the idea, starch and non-starch.
Like potatoes are starchy and green leafy greens non-starchy. There is no starch. So even just that, like, for example, peas, green beans, like all the green vegetables, or even the other colors like peppers. I eat a bunch of vegetables, and I try to keep my starchy carbs closer to my workouts so that I know my body's just gonna get that little bit of a spike in the glucose, so that I can just go and get my lift in. But again, there's nothing wrong. I eat carbs. I eat 4 times a day, and I eat carbs probably 3 or 4 meals. But again, I stand all the time. I'm moving around. I exercise. So what my nutrition for me may not be the perfect nutrition for you. If you undereat, then your metabolism actually starts to slow down. Actually, you start breaking down muscle. Then when you go and do these extreme 20-minute workout hit, that actually raises your cortisol even more. So then instead of building any lean mass or burning any fat, you're just raising up your cortisol. Then you go back to work, which is 9 times out of 10 stressful, which raises up your cortisol even more. So you're like an hamster on the wheel, and you're just running from one thing to the next. The nervous system, when it's in this state, is not in the best state to want to burn the fat and to want to build the muscle, which especially for women is so hard and so important to have the lean mass, because we are more prone to osteopenia and osteoporosis, because we have kids, which obviously deplete our resources even more. So that's why for me, I don't per se stress my clients so much in doing these extreme, workouts. And then they start to see that even in their 60s, they're like, oh, look, I'm starting to have some muscles. I'm starting to have some glutes.
And that is a good question, because I wanted to ask you, because, some of us have this whole idea that after a certain age, you just age and there is no hope to look good or build muscle. What do you think about this?
I feel that at any age, if you don't eat, you're going to lose the lean mass, So with that being said, obviously, when you're 60, when you're in the menopause, it's harder. But my experience has been, and I've been doing this for 7 years, I see that once they start eating the protein and they start lifting the right amount, obviously they don't have these bulging muscles. I don't have these bulging muscles. I've always been natural. But they can see the definition. They can see the pump in their muscles. And they can see that before they may have needed a hip replacement, and then they don't. Like, it's just amazing that you don't need 50, pound muscle on each muscle group to be strong, because the size and the strength is only so much before you need a much bigger muscle, right? So strength is, what I'm trying to say is the neuromuscular adaptation in regarding to the size. For us women to live our normal life, we don't need to have these insane big muscles, right? We're just not meant for that. Then if you want to do a bodybuilding competition, that's a different story. I always make it in the natty list for Christmas. So, that's, we're not, it's just not my expertise. So I will not tap into that. But even in their 60s, to answer your question, yes, we can still build some lean mass. They do have to eat. If you don't eat and you're in a deficit, you just can't build lean mass. But you can't do that at 20, at 30, at 40, and at 60. So it's not a matter of age, it's a matter of being in a caloric deficit because they've been suppressing their appetite for a very long time. One of my favorite quotes is,
go ahead.
only that people are not hungry. there is nothing wrong with being hungry. Think of a baby, right? They eat every 2 hours, and that's the picture of health. And then when you stop eating, you're like one foot in the grave, the way I look at it. I'm always hungry.
And I can see that you always carry your water. And I remember when I come to visit you, sometimes the amount of water that you carry with you, that's, I guess that's it. And you always remind me to drink water. I remember that you always say, Lena, breathe water. So tell me what's behind it.
Yeah. So actually, besides the food, which we can't live without, the amount of days that we can go without water is way less than the amount of food, right? And the amount of days or minutes we can go without breathing is even less, right? So of course I remind my clients of the most basic things. Water, we are literally 70 to 80% made of water. Our fascia, which has now been studied more, it's 80% made of water. So if you're drinking 8 ounces a day, 12 ounces, what is that? That's like a drop in the ocean. So I always try to strive for 50% of our body weight in water in ounces. So for somebody like me who's 150 pounds, on a good day, 75 ounces. And obviously it's easier to do the math. And a lot of people are so short on that number. But when you think that a lot of the health issues are related to the lack of water, which even I have clients who are cardiologists that don't drink. I'm like, it blows my mind. I'm like, what do you mean? So yes, water and breath. So water, it's easy. You can create the habit. For the breath, which it's, again, a little mind-blowing, a lot of people don't breathe right. They don't breathe through their nose. Actually, there are a few books. One of my favorite ones, Breathe. It talks about, how mouth breathing definitely is a cause for a lot of diseases. Or not even diseases, but just not suboptimal performance, suboptimal life, and even the palate changes when you breathe through your mouth. So I suggest that book to a lot of my clients. So yes, breathe. Even just now, for anybody that's listening, just breathe in through your nose and then breathe out through your mouth. It's something that they discovered 5,000 years ago or more in India. Everybody, it was such a practice that now we forgot. And now we got to go back to the basics and meditation. Because now we have to take the time aside to actually breathe. Because in life, we really don't breathe. Nobody really breathes. Like, it's just so stressful. Everything is like from one thing to the next. The politics, the ambulance, like all this stuff is just stressing us. Nobody's really breathing in reality. So when we exercise, I stress that almost throughout the whole session, as you may remember. Breathe in, exhale. Exhale on the contraction is the rule of thumb. Inhale on the eccentric. So as you're going down, you breathe in. As you standing up, you breathe out. You engage your muscles. Like, everything is just so perfect by design, meaning when you breathe out, your muscles contract in a way to press on your diaphragm, and then you're bracing. So it's just all flows. It's just so beautiful. And then you have the water, and then you pump the water into your muscles with the exercise. It's just like, it's like such a beautiful design. I just love to see it when the movement is great. Like, and I hear my clients breathe. I know they're moving right when they're breathing right. So I don't have to watch them. I just hear their breath. I'm like, I'm not hearing you breathe. I know you're not moving right. Because I don't know if you have experienced this. When you're not moving right, then you have to hold your breath. And then it becomes hard.
That you always
and then you're
say,
like,
the shoulders going up. Yeah, I came to you several times with the horrible migraines.
Yeah.
The first thing you were saying to me that I have to, come down, start breathing. That's
So
it was helping a lot.
Yeah. So that would be, once again, it's the basics: the water, the breath. the movement. And then there is a shift. I can sense the shift when my clients go from a stress state to a relaxed state. It's almost like the air changes, like there is a drop. And I sense it on a physical level. I don't know how to explain it if anybody else experience it, but I can sense the shift. And I'm like, okay, I know now they're ready. We can push. They're connected. They can go a little bit heavier because now they are here with me. They're not thinking of the bills or the meeting, the surgery. They're here. They're in the moment. So we can lift. When I lift, I don't even listen to music. All I want to hear is my breath. If I'm lifting heavier, I'm actually taking my headphones off because I'm like, I got to focus. I got to see where the air is going to lift. So I don't know. If only people that really meditate will understand what I'm talking about.
So for you, this type of exercise, that's the meditative state that you go to.
Yeah.
I wanted to let's switch a little bit and talk about that sense of community, because I was always curious. I think many of us watched that, probably you did too, that documentary about these blue zones that
Yes.
was right when we were talking about the people that are the happiest and live the longest. And I think Italy is one of the countries that belong to that blue zone. And so we are talking about, again, the food, the exercise, being active, but again, being active without killing yourself through this like hardcore exercising. And of course communication and community, and it's almost like every time when I get together with you, this like really reminds me, because you do create this I know that you invite people to your house, you invite people to cook together. Several times you came to me and you brought even ingredients for pasta, and we cooked together and we talked. And you always say that training it has to be fun. So can you talk a little bit about what community means to you?
Yeah, well,
and how is it a part of your life?
Yeah, I don't have any family here. My family's all in Italy. So the sense of belonging and community is actually one of the basic human needs. So for me, especially because I spend so much time with my clients, it becomes almost like a symbiosis. And then because I know them, for me, it's almost easy to connect the dots and to say, okay, let me connect them all together. Let me connect Lena with my other one, my Italian one, my Indian one, my Hispanic one. Just because I think it's beautiful. And plus, I'm like the red thread that connects us all. So I think it's so important to connect. It's so important to connect. It's all, I don't want to say it's all that life is about, but it definitely, being alone is not, it's not the best, I don't mind being alone, actually. I enjoy my alone time, but every so often, especially because I'm always one-on-one, like 90% of my day is either with my kids or with my clients. But I feel like it's bigger than me. It's bigger than just me knowing you on a one-on-one level. I think me connecting you with others and you connecting with others, even if it's only in that occasion, I think we start to see things that nothing is so hard, because we only have our own experience and say, okay, wow, my life is hard. I have to do this. I have to do. But then you talk to the next woman, she's going through the same thing. So when you can relate, you say like, okay, well, my experience is not that unique actually. And when you realize that your experience is not so, single, like one, you're like, oh, actually, if she's doing it, let me see what her strengths are, or maybe I can share what I did well or what works for me. and then it all makes sense. They used to do that so much more in the past, but now I feel like there's more competition. Like, I don't want to say like I don't have an ego. I definitely do have ego, but I'm really not competitive. I'm just me. This is just me. I don't try to be better than anyone. This is what works for me. Actually, I love to help. Obviously, my job is like 90% guiding. I don't even like the term personal trainer anymore. Like, I'm more of a coach. And a recent client I had who's also a coach taught me that a coach is the person that takes you where you can't take yourself. So I've realized in my life, I've taken a lot of people where they couldn't take themselves. Maybe they were great at doing whatever in their life, in their career, but I helped them, kind of close that gap or bridge between the one thing they couldn't really do or they didn't believe that they could really do. Like you said, a lot of my clients come to me because they don't really like exercise. I seldom will train athletes, but when I did, they were like, oh, wow. They realized they didn't know some of the basics. But my lawyers, my doctors, my entrepreneurs, my business women, they usually were not the ones who were spending most of their time in the gym. They were the ones on the books.
That's like you created this whole community that you like. I remember I was having problems to sleep. Then you started talking to me about sleeping patterns, nutritious issues. At some point we were talking about parenting. The best way to parent. You were even coaching my daughter at some point. And then you build this community of women. How did you come up with this traditional yearly dinner on March 8th?
Well,
what motivated you to put that together?
Well, it's a big thing in Italy, actually. In Italy, it's really big. I don't know why it's so big in Italy. But actually, Italy, even though we are a traditional country, we're a little bit more forward than a lot of people would think. And it's not just because we may be topless on the beach. But literally, we don't take our husbands' names. Like, my mom still has her maiden name. There is a lot more sense of community and things that they go from generation to generation, from mothers to daughters or grandmothers, aunts, So that part for me, that holiday, all the women go out. Like, they go out, they go eat out with their friends. In more recent days, they may go and watch, men dancers. I never went, but, it's a thing. And so I found that here, that holiday, it wasn't very known. I guess there is now, because I got here 14 years ago. So really not a lot of women knew about it. We even have a whole flower that is for this day. It's called the mimosa. Like, a lot of you may know the cocktail, but it's a flower. It's a yellow flower. It's beautiful. It smells really strong, and it's got these little yellow, like little dots. So cute. And on this day, you see the man just literally bringing branches. It's a tree. So they bring these branches, huge branches of mimosas to the women. It's everywhere. The smell is everywhere. And obviously there is a cake, torta mimosa, which I made for the event.
Yes, I remember
which
last
has got
year.
all the gold sponge cake on top, just to resemble this flower. So I just thought it was a great holiday to celebrate. Plus, me, I love all holidays, Christmas, New Year's, Easter. So I'm like, just give me another excuse to celebrate, to eat, to be together, to live life. Like, we need holidays to remember. Otherwise, every day is just the same as the other day, right? So we need these holidays to brighten up the day, have something to look forward to. So I love it. I'm looking forward to this next one. I'm already
So what's the plan for this year? It's just going to be like in a week from now, and this podcast is going to be released around March 8th.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, so putting together once again I'm trying to have as many, like, as diverse of a group as possible. That's why I always say, hey, I'm sending you the invitation, but by all means, tell someone else, bring them on. So, I'm prepping the menu with the restaurant. And, because then obviously different environments, different religions, different nutrition habits. So this time, again, I'm going to have some gluten-free, some vegan options, because, some of my clients are Hindus. And it's actually during Ramadan this year. One of my clients is Muslim. So, I respect the diversity. And I always tell my clients, like, hey, honestly, it doesn't matter if you're vegan to me or vegetarian. As long as you bring your protein, it doesn't matter. So I try to be thoughtful even on that day. I'm prepping the goodie bags, like I did last year, so the women will go home and take care of themselves.
Last year's
Yeah.
goodie bags were
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, this year's
I
gonna
brought
be
it
better.
home. My daughter also very enjoyed that.
Yeah, so this year is gonna be a better. My goal is always to do a little bit more. So I had to start earlier. I like to. I realized that for a lot of my clients, coming to me sometimes is the only thing they do for themselves. Not a lot of my clients go and get a massage or they go on the shop. No, a lot of my moms are homes. They're moms and they work, so they don't have all this time to go and do all of these things, but they make time to come see me, which in result is a good time for them. They benefit from the training session, and for me as a business, I obviously benefit from them coming to me. So it's a cycle.
So it's a
for me,
reciprocity.
yeah,
Like in so many cultures, we have this reciprocity of, that's you give, you want to give, it comes back.
Yeah. So this is a client appreciation also for me. So it's got there's multiple reasons why I like to have this specific event, and I'm looking forward to it very much. I still don't know the final number, because I'm like, yeah, let me know. Just tell me who's coming, or the number, and then it will be great. My daughter will be there. She's 10, so very blessed to have a son and a daughter, because what you can teach and what you can learn from either a son or a daughter is so different. So I recently started meditating with my daughter. So yeah, I look forward to her being there and meeting my clients, which she did last year. And should be great.
I'm really looking forward to that. I want to ask you a question, because for the majority of us working at home women, I think like stress is something that I would say, like, this is something common today. In your opinion, what would be the best tip that you can give us today? When we are talking about wellness, how can we address stress through any of the tips that come from either exercise? And again, I know that you talk a lot about sleep, you talk a lot about nutrition, you talk a lot about, I remember you were talking to me, you have to take a walk outside, just, I don't want to speak for you. I want you to give us tips
so
today.
That's a very, very hard question, because again, what may work for me or what you may be lacking is not what I'm lacking, right?
And then tell me, what's the best way to know what works for me?
Usually what's lacking is what's needed. We all know what it is, right? If you're not moving enough, then it may be movement. If you're not drinking enough, then it may be water. If you're not eating enough, it may be food. But if I can just take a wild guess and just pick one out of all the others. And I think the answer will surprise you. I would say sleep. Good quality sleep. And good quality sleep is not just the hours that we stay in bed. It's actually the hours that we are asleep, like completely out. Because our life is already bombarding us with things from all sides, right? So I almost know it instinctively that 90% of women are not getting good sleep. We're on our phone, we're on watching the TV, watching whatever TV show, taking care of the kids, or working. Like I literally know maybe one or two of my clients that when I ask them how their sleep is, they say, oh yeah, my sleep is good. I go to sleep at this time and I get my 8 hours. I think maybe just one tells me that her sleep is good. All the others, maybe they take something. Maybe they wake up in the middle of the night. Maybe they just don't sleep. Maybe they sleep 2 hours. And for me, I'm like a human like research because I talk to my clients. I am one-on-one with them. So I almost know even if they go to the bathroom or not.
How do we make ourselves sleep? Because we
That's a
go
great
to
question.
bed. We go to bed and we go through the list of things that needs to be done next
Great.
day, next morning, next week,
Yeah.
next weekend, how I'm going to be on time for this meeting,
Yeah.
how I'm going to take my daughter to school, how I'm going to make all those wonderful things
Yeah.
happen by the end of the month.
Yeah, so obviously I have an answer for that. I would say yoga nidra. You just put it on YouTube. Look up yoga nidra. 1 hour, 2 hours, 8 hours, 20 minutes. You just look up for yoga nidra and it will put you out. And it may be just a 20-minute nap, but you will sleep differently. Look up vagus nerve meditation. The vagus nerve is one of the most recent things that I started tapping into. Why? That's a whole nother interview that maybe we can do. But the vagus nerve alone is, it's been very interesting what we can do if we learn to harness what the vagus nerve does for us. It does a lot. It controls a lot of the major, if not all of the organs. It sends the signals from the organs to the brain mostly. Obviously, also the other way, but mostly from the organs to the brain, the guts, the kidneys, the heart, the lungs. So there are specific exercises you can do. If you look up vagus nerve exercises, most of us, that you can have too much of a vagal tone or not enough. And so when our sleep is disturbed, most times if we can act upon our vagus nerve, it will help us get a better sleep. And I've done it. That's why I know it works. That's why I tell everyone. Because the same way that the right exercise works is not what we do, it's how we do it. And so the same way is not that we sleep, it's how we sleep. And actually a lot of the exercise world is now going more towards the recovery, because for a lot of time it's just like, no, work harder, lift heavier, do it for longer, do it for no. Wait, that's too much. Now you gotta rest. So while we gotta go through this crazy, like, okay, too much, too little, too much, no, just find the balance. You can work hard, but you gotta recover. So I have a few apps that I also, use. Obviously I wear my watch all the time, so it tells me if I went into my deep sleep. And then it's so fascinating because what I'm noticing now, that even for women, our sleep pattern and our heart rate changes when our period is coming. It's like men will never know what it means to be a woman, but it's like it's really fascinating. We are so simple yet so complicated. Men, they have their challenges as well. I relate. Obviously, I have a lot of male clients too. But being a woman, I relate a little bit differently with with women, right? But yeah, if I had to pick one thing that I would urge all of us to do better is to sleep.
Yeah, I am completely agree with you. I make myself to sleep right now.
Yes.
And it's difficult because I want to do so many things, and sometimes I suffer from this constant, how do you call it, like former fear from
Oh yeah, fear of
missing
missing out.
action. Yeah, missing out, like
Yeah,
constantly, like
yeah,
no matter how old I am, but I want to get here, I want to sit there, I want to uh,
yeah, yeah,
there is something always going on, but
yeah,
now no, there is a new thing right now. I
yeah,
have to sleep like a champion, which
yeah,
is difficult, but
yeah.
if you
So
sleep, you feel so much
yeah,
better and you handle stress.
yeah. You have a phone, right?
Yes,
You have to plug it up. It's
correct.
not even the best phones. It may have a 20-hour battery life, right? Or 50-hour or 2 days. But after that battery life, you gotta plug it up.
Yeah,
You gotta close the apps. It can't always be running in the background because it's gonna slow it down.
right.
So it's the most simple thing that most of us don't do.
Okay, listen, that was quite inspirational, and it was incredible talking to you. And now that we are finishing the conversation, two two things that I would like you to share with our listeners. First, uh, for those who would like to start a new routine, and sometimes it's very overwhelming because sometimes people like, okay, Monday, go to the gym 5 times a week. I'm going to kill it. To my new lifestyle. And I know it's not going to last.
No.
One actionable item that you would recommend to start a new routine?
um, just find the time that will work. I know it seems like, what do you mean? Yeah, a lot of people just don't have the time. And if you're waiting for the time to materialize, it will not. So you have to find the time that you know will work. Even if it's only a 20-minute thing, just block it in your calendar. Like make it so that it's a non-negotiable. Maybe it will be first thing in the morning. Maybe not ideal, but before you go to sleep. And even if it's only foam rolling, you're
Yeah.
like, what's that? Even 20 minutes foam rolling, it's amazing. I know I haven't talked about it at all. And you're like, I know it's such a big thing. But even just foam rolling 20 minutes at night, it helps. It's like a self-massage, right? So even just foam rolling your calves, foam rolling your quads, your upper back, even just those 20 minutes that you actually take time to feel your muscles, that's a start. And you'll see that after you do that, already you'll be like, oh, okay, the blood flow is going. Let me just do some squats. Just do a little bit more every time. Maybe you may start with that, with some stretches. Maybe you may start with then some squats, maybe a push-up, maybe, I don't like to, I see a lot of people do get hurt when they start something that I am not inclined to say, okay, I'll start with this, I'll start with that. Because again, fitness, it's very personal. Like maybe fitness is just start going for a 20-minute walk. It just depends. Like, what are you really trying to do? And obviously, I'm a trainer for a reason. And any coach, even the best athlete, has at least 3 to 4 coaches. So hire somebody like that will help you through it. If I want to learn the piano, I'm not just gonna buy a book and start playing. That's just not realistic. So I would say just talk to someone that can talk to you and see what your needs are, what your goals are, and will make it best for you. Me being such a specific person, I can't give a general advice on that. But foam rolling is safe. there is very little contraindications for that, unless you have varicose veins or something like that. Then obviously don't do it. If you're pregnant, then maybe just wait. But even see in this case, like, oh, it's just foam rolling. So that's why I'm like, I should be pretty safe. Exercise, it's a medicine. And just like every medicine, too much of a good thing can be bad. So
guys, start small and
Just
make it
breathe.
sustainable. It's build the base and then start improving it. And also to me, it's just think about identity shift and start thinking of yourself as a new person.
Right.
Start like moving yourself as who I am when I start living this new style. And again, small steps, right?
Well, a little bit more every time.
Yeah, the idea is just to start moving.
Yeah.
And again, to me, it's always about identity shift. It's like, do not start the crazy diet. Just look at what is good for you in terms of healthy eating, healthy sleeping, water, breathing, and community.
Yes.
Because I think that just hang out with the people who you want to be. Because again, like, if you want to write, start hanging out with writers. If you want to dance, start hanging out with dancers. If you want to travel, start hanging out with travelers, because it's all about the community of people who you are. And that's the reason why we have this podcast. The community changes who you are, it changes the world, and you can change the community. So thank you, Alessia.
Thank you.
Where can we find you?
Good question. See, most of my business is always so referred from someone else that I am not, I don't like do any advertisement for my business. So you can find me on Instagram, FitPhoenix _9, I think.
Yeah, we are going to put it in the notes, in the footnotes of the podcast.
Yeah.
I love your Phoenix.
I share all my nutrition.
There is a lot of
plates,
good information there that you share.
Yeah.
And again, thank you so much for joining Connected Conversations today. We'll see you next time. Please do share your thoughts in the comments, and let's stay conversations going. If there is any other stories that you would like us to bring, please let us know. And if you'd like to join our podcast, send us a message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in into Connected Conversation. As we continue on our first year, we are incredibly inspired by the potential of positive change within our communities. We invite you to be a part of our conversation, and we invite you to be a part of our journey. Please subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on our latest episodes. Your support is incredibly invaluable. It will help us to grow our community. We also encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments of each episode. Your feedback will help us to create even more meaningful conversations. We can inspire the change and connect with each other one conversation at a time.